Hi, Gearspace. My name's Eric. I'm from Landscape. We make human-controlled instruments, electronic instruments, and we've made the stereo fields and the HCTT and the Soundwich and All Flesh for Eurorack touch points. And we have a new instrument that we're showing for the first time here. It's called Noon, and it's a passive drum synth. And what it is, passive meaning there's no power supply, and when there's no CV or gate going into it, it's technically off. But as soon as it receives CV gate voltage, you're momentarily turning on these eight individual analog circuits. And if you send it like a constant voltage, you can do drones and send a combination of different CV voltages. You get into a lot of available chaos. So all of the circuits just have a different tonality, and some are sort of kick drum-esque, some of them are tom-esque and sort of like cymbals, and this one has like a vocal tonality, and this one does some interesting bass and heavy thuds, and this one is very plasticky sounding, like plastic wrap and very wet and squishy. So overall it's about movement of sound, and the way that I thought about just increasing instability was by using sort of the most unstable means possible, which is momentary power. So you hear this is like so that's like it's off, I hit this, now it's on, and it goes into like a very sort of liquid kick type sound. But if I turn it to a different mode, now it's like a slow saw wave. So that's because when you start to put it into different modes, you can also use that saw wave as a modulation source and create extra instability when you start linking that with other channels. You can also feed channel 1 back to channel 8 and channel 8 back to channel 1, and the channels can share voltage. So these link buttons where the touch points interact just allow you to share voltage and modulation between channels, but that changes based on when a channel is receiving a gate. If a channel is not receiving any voltage, sometimes it can steal voltage from the neighboring channel when it's linked and change the tonality, and sometimes partially trigger that channel even. So that just creates greater instability as well. And you have odd and even CV dedicated sort of like pitch CV inputs, but you could put whatever you want into them. And you have even and odd mute buttons, so it passively sums the CV through these mute buttons, and shares them between the even channels and then the odd channels, and so you create like a sort of a movement reference between channels, rhythmic movement reference, I'd say. Yeah, so let's see. So then like this channel is it's sort of like a pinged filter in channel 2 called dual, and you can also send external audio through that filter, and it's very heavy and sounds sort of like it can behave as a VCA because it's turning on and then the audio comes through, and also you can send modulation to it and then modulate the filter. And so it's kind of all of these things, it's about being between worlds and not sort of adhering to a definition, I would say. So, and as we go down the line, there's like sort of tom-esque sounds, but you can also get it into more, clicky stuff. And when you start sending that CV, when you send any channel CV, it's like interplay between a drum sound and a synthesizer sound, and and then this is like more of that wet sound I was talking about. And when you change when this is a mod button below each channel, that changes the characteristic of each channel. And these are both kind of like symbols in a way. But I wish I had two hands. Maybe I'll hold it like this for a second. There we go. Okay. A good representation of what's happening. Sorry if that's too loud. Is so if you're just sending straight voltage in, that's how you can hear what the channel's made of, essentially, what the voice sounds like. But then when you're obviously striking it with shorter sounds, and that's true with all of them. And so let's just play a little ditty. See, I don't know what this is going to sound like, but so we have quite a few channels. Actually, all channels are firing right now. A couple are muted. You can see from the red illuminated lights. And so whenever the channels are unmuted, you see yellow, and when it's muted, you see red. And I start to turn on some CV, some incoming pitch CV information. You can hear a lot more happening. And as I start unmuting more, a lot more chaos. And I'm linking, so now I'm linking two of them. So it's like the idea is just to arrive at a sort of modular complexity or chaos, if you want chaos, faster than patching. And if I go to this voice, you can get a lot of bass out of this one. You can link it with the channel next to it and get very vocal-like tones, a lot of squeals, a lot of bubbling. So now I have both of these channels talking to one another. Pretty insane sounding. Now I can link with channel 1 and send more CV, and everything starts to get very overloaded. And then you can pull away, remove some of that voltage. The idea is just sort of to play around, and you'll find a lot of different sounds because of the instability again. So it's about pockets of sound and like searching those out. I wish I could show you each channel, but it would take a while. But each channel responds very strangely to incoming CV. Maybe this one can get very, very intense. Ooh, sorry about the high frequencies, everyone. Okay. Wow. So, yeah, that's basically it. And I don't know if I went over the individual outputs and the passive summing yet. Did I? No. Okay. Well, there's 8 individual outputs as well, which gives you a bit cleaner experience if you're using a mixer. And I can tip it up for you. So there's all the 8 3.5 millimeter outputs, and then we have the passive summing outputs, and that presents like a lot of nonlinear behavior because all the channels are fighting for audio, right, and fighting for headroom. So you have sort of a lot of compression-like glue happening when you're using like the mono output. And then, when to a lesser extent, if you're using both this normals to a mono output when you do the even channel. When you patch out the odd channel, then you have representation of the even and the odd channels split. And so it can create strange stereo type sounds, because when you link channels together, again, they like link an even channel to an odd channel, they're sharing modulation, sharing voltage, and also bleeding into one another, sometimes being affected by the other, and there's like a blurring of the lines between what is being affected and what is being modulated, which creates strange stereo stuff. And that's pretty much it.
Pricing and availability.
Yeah, pricing is $680 US, and availability, the first couple runs are sold out, but we will open up a third group pre-order in the summer, I believe, in like August or something, and by maybe end of the summer or early fall, they'll be available to dealers worldwide and carried by quite a few of them so far.